Hey YouTube, Tweak here, bringing you all my Purrely Yugioh deck profile for January 2023 with the new amazing Defenders booster set. This is one of the 3 new decks that you can build from the set. It's an Xyz type of deck that focuses on using their only main deck monster that they currently have to make all the many different Purrely Xyz monsters that we have. A lot of people are comparing it to Eevee from Pokemon, but this deck focuses on making that level 1 monster into rank 2 different monsters and then getting more and more materials on those rank 2 Xyz monsters to then overlay into our rank 7 Xyz monsters. We'll be getting a lot more support in the Cyberstorm Access booster set, but I still wanted to do a deck profile to show what you can build the deck with and what you can build it to be with all the support we currently have. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck. Our only monster for the main deck for the Purrelys is Purrely itself. If this card is normal or special summon, you can excavate the top 3 cards of your deck. And if you do, you can add 1 excavated Purrely spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Also place the rest on the bottom of the deck in any order. And once per turn, you can reveal 1 Purrely quick play spell in your hand. And if you do special summon 1 Xyz monster that mentions it from your extra deck by using this card as face-up material that you control. And if you do, attach the revealed card to the summoned monster as additional material. This is treated as an Xyz summon. So with that, you have the option for the quick play spell to be attached onto your Xyz monster, depending on which one you make, because we have many different Purrely Xyz monsters to go into with this deck so far. And like I said, we'll be getting more support in the Cyberstorm Access booster set that'll be coming out in a couple months. But this is just the one way to get out these rank 2 Xyz monsters. They are just generic rank 2s to summon out. So you can use some of our other options that I run in the deck as well to do so, Purrely just being the main go-to one that we currently have. I also run 3 copies of Nimble Beaver, just being, once again, one of the easier ways to summon out 2 level 2 monsters. When it's normal summon, you can special summon 1 level 3 or lower Nimble monster from your deck or graveyard. So what's great about Nimble Beaver is that even if you get 2 of the Nimble Beavers out of the main deck, if you draw into your 3rd one, you can at least use it to special summon a Nimble Beaver from your graveyard, giving you 2 Xyz plays with Nimble Beaver in total. I like it as a backup option with Purrely as well, just because if our opponent does negate the option to use Purrely, we at least have 1 other option to go into our rank 2 Xyz monsters in the deck. For the rest of the main deck monsters, just relying on 3 Ash Blossom and Joy Spring and 2 copies of Effect Veiler. We also do run 1-for-1 in the deck just as a faster way to get Purrely out onto the field, since you can get its monster effect when you special summon it as well. So at least we have some monster discard fodder if you're not going to use them for any actual hand trap plays, or if you need them at least for the 1-for-1 play like I said before. And since that is it for the main deck monsters, we'll now move on to the spells, which do take up a big number of the spell count in the deck. We are running 3 copies of My Friend Purrely. It is a continuous spell. You can pay 500 life points, reveal 3 Purrely cards from your deck, except My Friend Purrely, and your opponent randomly picks 1 for you to add to your hand, and shuffle the rest into your deck. If a face-up Purrely Xyz monster you control leaves the field because of an opponent's card, even during the damage step, you can add up to 3 Purrely quick play spells with different names from your graveyard to your hand. You can only use each effect of My Friend Purrely once per turn. So this is just more search power. You're even able to add, since it says Purrely cards, your main go-to monster as one of the 3 to reveal to your opponent for you to add into your hand, and then being able to, hopefully, with your opponent randomly picking 1, add it to your hand for your play to go into. And also being a continuous spell, it means you can only use the effect once per turn. It remains on the field. You can use it again the following turn. I also run 3 of the quick play spell Purrely Happy Memory, or with this card, you choose 1 card on the field, and then until the end of the next turn, the first time it will be destroyed by a card effect, it is not destroyed. After choosing a card, then you can apply the following effect: discard 1 card and special summon 1 level 1 Purrely monster from your deck, or a Purrely Xyz monster that has this card attached to it gains the following effect: it can attack monsters up to the number of times the battle phase, up to the number of Purrely Happy Memory attached onto it. So the more Xyz material that you attach onto it, thanks to Purrely's own own card effect. Just gives you more of an attack option against your opponent with this card to use. I also find it very, very funny and adorable that all of the Purrely cards that are quick plays also have them almost like a photo album picture, because they have this little spot here that you would like clip the photo into the photo album. Very, very cool touch on their part. One of the other searchers that we have is Purrely Pretty Memory. Each player gains 1,000 life points. Then you can discard one card, and if you do, special summon one level 1 Purrely monster from your deck. A Purrely Xyz monster that has this card as material gains the effect. Once per turn, you can send one other card you control to the graveyard, then target one card your opponent controls, attach it to this card as material, just making it so you can take one of your opponent's resources, and it's one card, so it can either be a face-up continuous spell or trap they have, a monster, you name it, just being able to target that card, and you can take it and add it onto one of your own monsters, which to get out some of the bigger Purrely monsters, you have to have a monster that is Xyz summon with a rank 2 that has 5 or more Xyz materials to make it, and then transferring all those cards to your Xyz monster. I also run 3 of the field spell, which is Stray Purrely Street. Your opponent cannot target Purrely monsters you control with card effects the turn they are special summoned, and once per turn, if a face-up Purrely Xyz monster you control leaves the field because of an opponent's card, special summon one level 1 Purrely monster from your deck or graveyard, and once per turn, during the end phase, you can target one Purrely Xyz monster on the field and attach one Purrely quick play spell from your deck or graveyard to that monster's material. This is another faster way to get all of the Purrely quick play spells onto them and getting the multiples. If you reveal Happy Memory as one of the quick play Xyz spells for you to attach on to Purrely, then you can at least use the field spell to get a second copy onto it, and so on and so forth. And also just the protection option and special summon resource. If a Purrely Xyz monster leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you can at least continue the plays by getting another one of the level 1 monsters onto the field also. I also run 3 copies of Purrely Delicious Memory. You choose one monster on the field until the end of the next turn. It cannot be destroyed by battle. After choosing a card, then you can apply the following effects. Discard one card, and if you do, special summon one level 1 Purrely monster from your deck. A Purrely Xyz monster that has this card's material gains the following effect. It gains 300 attack and defense for each material attached onto it. So the more and more you have, you can in total, if you have the proper ones needed, get your Purrely Happiness or your Purrely Noir up to some pretty high attack and defense for each material attached onto it, making it that much more difficult for your opponent to even get over that card to begin with. For some of the more generic Xyz related cards that we run in the deck, I also run 3 copies of XYZ Import. You target one Xyz monster you control and one monster your opponent controls with less than attack than or equal to it. Attach that opponent's monster to your monster as material. You can only activate one XYZ Import once per turn. It's a quick play spell, so the more attack that it boosts with cards, let's say thanks to your Purrely Delicious Memory, the easier it is for you to attach that monster onto your own Purrely monster as material. Just making it faster for us to also gain those XYZ material. I also run 3 overlay region. You target one face-up Xyz monster on the field, attach this card to it as material. So that just makes it that much more quickly. If you have multiples of the overlay region in your hand, you can add more and more. It's not a once per turn, so the more you can attach onto each one of your Purrely Xyz monsters. And then lastly, for the spells, 1 copy of the 1-for-1, just so you can special summon out your Purrely that much more quickly onto the field. The 1 Terraforming for searching out the field spell, and 1 Call by the Grave for stopping any of our opponent's hand traps, because if they do try to hand trap Purrely with, let's say, Effect Veiler, then you're pretty much out of options for this monster, and you'll have to rely on going into your Link 1 Link Rebo with it on the field. And for the traps, I'm running 2 copies of Purrely Yeep. With this trap card, you target one Purrely Xyz monster you control, special summon from your extra deck one Purrely Xyz monster with a different rank by using that target as material, but return it to the extra deck during the end phase of the next turn. It's treated as an Xyz summon and transfer materials onto the summoned monster, and you can banish this card from your graveyard to target 3 Purrely monsters in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck, and you can only use 1 Purrely Yeep once per turn. So this card helps if you need to get your boss monster out for the specific play it is meant to do. But with that, you will lose this monster. That's why I'm only running 2 of this card. It is pretty good for the graveyard recycle of your Purrely monsters as well, if you need any specific ones back into the extra deck, or just even to return the main deck one back into the deck for you to use. And then also just 3 copies of Infinite Permanence, an additional hand trap to use against your opponent if you end up going second against them. That is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. The extra deck is made up of a good number of Purrely Xyz monsters. We're running 3 Purrely Beauty, 2 level 2 monsters to make it once per turn. You can target one effect monster your opponent controls, negates effects until the end of this turn. This is a quick effect if this card has Purrely Pretty Memory attached to it, and up to thrice per turn, you can activate Purrely Quick Play spell card, quick effects, and you can attach this card onto the field to it as material. So with this card, being able to attach that card onto this card gives you more and more options for your Xyz material to be attached onto these cards, and then you can change the battle position of one monster your opponent controls. You have a monster effect negation thanks to this card, and just being able to switch the battle position of that opponent's monster makes it a definite 3 of. I run 2 ofs for the good majority of all the other Purrely cards, but with this card's card effect, I definitely wanted to run it at 3. I also run 2 copies of Purrely Plump. Once per turn, you can target up to 2 spell or trap cards in the graveyard and attach them onto this card as material. It's a quick effect if it has Purrely Delicious Memory as material, and up to thrice per turn, when you activate a Purrely Quick Play spell card, you can attach that card onto this card and then as material, and then you can banish one monster on the field until the end phase. Since it's only the end phase, that's why I decided just to run this card as a 2 of. It was a permanent banish, but still great for the spell and trap build-up using Purrely Plump. I think it's in the name, obviously, since it can consume so many quick play spells so fast. I also run 2 copies of Purrely Happiness. With this card at the end of damage step, if it battle, you can add 1 Purrely card from your deck to your hand. Also, if this card has Purrely Happy Memories as material, you can half the attack of one face-up monster on the field up to thrice per turn. When you activate a Purrely Quick Play spell, you can attach this card on the field to it as material. Then you can return 1 spell or trap your opponent controls to their hand. So the bounce power is pretty useful if they have a pesky trap on the field that is stopping you from making some of your own plays. But still, you can use this card as more of a resource to get over some pesky monsters your opponent may have on the field also. For some of the bigger Xyz monsters, I run 2 copies of Purrely Happiness. The trap card can also help us just to recycle a lot of these cards. That's why I'm comfortable running them for the majority at a 2 of count. You can also Xyz summon this card by using a rank 2 monster you control with 5 or more material, transfer the material to this card, and during the main phase, you can detach 1 from this card, and if you do, negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls until the end of this turn. Your opponent cannot activate card or effects in response to this effect's activation, and if this card has a level 1 Purrely monster's material, when an attack is declared involving this card that has 5 or more materials, inflict 1500 damage to your opponent. This could be pretty big burn damage, and also, just for the scary factor, for your Purrely option with your Happy Memory to be able to then, when it attacks, have the option to attack multiple times. You can hit burn damage to your opponent for each attack that your Purrely Happiness does against your opponent. I also run 2 copies to finish off the Purrely extra deck monsters of Purrely Noir, needing 2 level 7 monsters, but you can also Xyz summon it using a rank 2 monster with 5 or more material. Transfer them to this card. It's unaffected by your opponent's activated effects while it has 5 or more materials, and you can detach 2 from this card to target 1 card your opponent controls or in their graveyard and place it on the bottom of the deck. It's a quick effect if it has a level 1 Purrely monster as material. So just another answer to get rid of your opponent's cards. It may be more of a defensive card for when going up against your opponent, but when it has to deal with your opponent's cards, it is very useful for getting rid of those cards. The opposite, I would say, of Purrely Happiness. It can definitely go up against your opponent, but doesn't have the best for the actual defense against your opponent's monsters. And then for more of the generic lineups, 1 copy of Lear Lusk Ensemble Roblin. I really don't go into this often just because Purrely is used most of the time to go into the rank 2 options, but if I need it, it does come in handy. And then 1 Downward Magician and 1 Zeus if I need more of a board wiping option, and for the fact that Zeus can be pretty powered up when you overlay on top of a Purrely monster that has all of those materials additionally. And then lastly, for the Link monsters, just the 1 copy of Link Karibo. So if our opponent does negate the effect of Purrely, you at least have the option to go into a Link 1 using that card. And then as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, the big setup comes down to just when you summon out your Purrely, when it's normal or special summon, excavating the top 3 cards of your deck, then adding 1 excavated Purrely spell or trap. So depending on what you add to your hand, you can at least have the Xyz play if you go for some of the additional searches. If you reveal one of your go-to searches, like your friend Purrely, you can have more of a search option on the field, making your opponent choose what you add. And then with the rest of them, you have the reveal for your quick play spell to then attack attach it onto the Xyz material that you'll make using your Purrely main deck monster and your additional Purrely card. If you have more and more quick play cards to use, the more you activate with them, the more that you can attach onto your monster. So depending on all that you play, using your Purrely monster means more quick play activations, because you can up to thrice per turn equip onto those quick play spells onto your monster. And when you finally hit that additional 5 material, whether it be with your own Purrely cards or even with your own spell options, you can then overlay into the boss monster of choice, whether it be X Purrely Noir or your X Purrely Happiness, having one of these two boss monsters and also being able to benefit depending on which Purrely quick play spells you have attached onto them. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'll definitely be doing deck profiles on all the other decks from the Amazing Defender set, so look forward to it. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.